Hey y'all, I'm Cawyer, and I don't know about y'all, but I have a very wild imagination. The category of fantasy fiction is the home of wild imaginations. In fantasy fiction, there could be an endless possibility of things that could happen that won't exist in our world. Fantasy fiction has the power to draw you out of your normal reality and bring you to a completely different world during your time of reading. These books I'm going to talk about highlight my favorite topics in reading, romance, and magic. The first few books I'm going to talk about are part of the Selection series, written by Cawyer. This is a 5-book series, and I'm going to feature the last 3. In these books, there is a caste system. In this system, each individual is labeled a number based on their jobs. 1 is royalty, and it goes all the way down to 8 who are homeless. Maxon the Prince is ordered to conduct a selection, where he goes on dates with many eligible women in order to find a wife to take the throne with him. In the One, which is the 3rd book of the series, the story is told by America. America is a singer, which puts her as a 5 on the caste system. It is unusual that she stayed this long in the selection, being that she is only a 5 because it is such a low number. But being so low in the system makes her more understanding and more welcoming, unlike some of the other girls in the selection. America was ordered to jail someone for simply stealing clothes for his children. As part of the Selection series. Instead of sentencing him, she gave him jewelry to pay off his debt. I stood and made my way to Adam, touching his shoulder. He winced and waited for me to tell him he was going to prison. Stand up, I said. Adam looked at me, confusion in his eyes. Please, I said, and took one of his cupped hands and pulled him along. Adam walked with me up the aisle to the raised area where the royal family sat. When we got to the stairs, I turned to him and sighed. I took off one of my beautiful earrings that Maxon had given me, then the other. I placed both in Adam's hand. He stood there, dumbstruck, as my beautiful bracelet followed, and then, because if I was really truly going to do this, I wanted to give everything. I reached behind my neck and unclasped my songbird necklace, the one my dad had given me. I hoped he was watching and not hating me for giving his gift away. Once I dropped it into Adam's hand, I curled his fingers around the treasure, then stepped to the side so he was standing directly in front of King Clarkson. I pointed to the thrones. Go, faithful subjects, and pay your debt to the king. During this time, the rebels attack the castle in attempts to get rid of the caste system and destroy the monarchy. During the last attack of the book, the king and queen are both killed, which leaves Maxon as king. Maxon proposes to America, and they get married in the epilogue and get rid of the caste system together. Which brings us to The Heir, which is the 4th book in the series. The story is now being told by Edelyn. Edelyn is the firstborn child of America and Maxon, the king and the queen, which means she is the rightful heir for the throne. One problem is she has to do the selection to find a king to take the throne with her. But she does not want to, so she puts it off for a very long time. Once she starts the selection, all the men are fighting over her, but she is not interested. Her country is struggling from the post-caste system, and her country despises Edelyn and does not want her to take the throne. Even her brother and his girlfriend think that she should be more kind and open. She tries to take this under consideration throughout the series, throughout the selection, but spending more time and going on dates with the candidates, to show her country that she is caring, but she has no feelings for them. You're like your mother, and my mother too. You're determined, and perhaps most importantly, you don't like to fail. I know this will all work out if only you'll refuse to allow it to go any other way. I nearly confessed I come up with pages of ideas to drive these boys away, because he was right. I didn't want to fail. But for me, failure meant having life, led by someone else. I'm sure everyone will turn out as it should, I said, a whisper of regret hanging in my voice. He lifted a hand and placed it on my cheek. It usually does. Even with these encouraging words, she still does not want to go through with the selection. As she's thinking of canceling the selection, her mother, America, has a heart attack, which drives her to finish the selection and eventually choose a husband. Lastly, we arrive at The Crown, the last book of the series. Evelyn continues the selection in this book. She continues to go on dates, but she has not found any feelings for anyone. During this time, she is also trying to win her country's approval, so she hosts a broadcast to talk to the citizens from each caste to show her care for her people. Her father wants to pass down the crown to her even though she has not finished the selection, so he can focus on taking care of his wife. During the coronation, Ari's translator, Eric, gives Evelyn a ring that his family gave to the girl to give to him to give to the girl that he marries, but instead he gives it to Evelyn as a charm of good luck. Evelyn then realizes that she has feelings for Eric, but since he is not a candidate, it would be against the rules of her to marry him. After a lot of back and forth, she proposes to Henri. However, Henri can see Eric's love for Evelyn and refuses to marry her. Her father told her to ignore the rule about her not being able to marry him and do what makes her happy. Evelyn then proposes to Eric and declares her country a constitutional monarchy. So that was the selection series by Cawyer. And this next series I'm going to talk about is written by Marissa Mayer, and the first one is called The Renegades. The Renegades is about two groups of prodigies with extraordinary capabilities. One is the Renegades and the other is the Anarchists. The Renegades are a symbol of hope and courage to everyone except for the villains they overthrew. Nova has a reason to hate the Renegades. When she was 6, Nova watched a man murder her whole family while she was waiting for the Renegades to come and save them. So she stepped up and killed the man by using her sleeping power before he could do the same to her. Nova reached up and grabbed his wrist, unleashing the power with more force than she ever had before. The man's jaw slackened. His eyes dulled and rolled into the back of his head. He fell backwards, landing with a resounding thud on her bedroom floor, crushing her dollhouse beneath his weight. The whole building seemed to shake from his fall. Seconds later, deep, peaceful breathing filled the apartment. Nova's lungs contracted again. Air moved through her throat, shuddering in and out. She forced herself to stand and rubbed the tears and snot from her face. She picked up the gun, though it felt awkward and heavy in her hand. She slipped her finger over the trigger. She took a step closer, one hand gripping the doorframe as she left the sanctuary at the closet. She wasn't sure where to aim. His head, his chest, his stomach. She settled on his heart, got so close to him that she could feel his shirt brushing against her bare toes. Bang, her mother was dead. Bang, her father. Bang, Evie. The Renegades had not come. They were not going to come. As the book continues, she has it out for the Renegades and tries to take them down, but as she gets closer to completing her task, she gets closer to Adrian, a renegade boy. But Nova's loyalty already lies with the villain who has the power to ruin everything, including their lives. The next book in this series is Arch Enemies, which follows Renegades. In this book, she works with both the Renegades and the Anarchists. She doubles her life by covering under 2 names. Since she never sleeps and her power is to make people sleep, both of her names are related to sleep. With the Renegades, she is Insomnia, who protects the weak and maintains the city. With the Anarchists, she is Nightmare, fighting to take down the Renegades because they failed her at her most vulnerable time. She even keeps her secret identity from Adrian, who she has become very close to. I'm going to destroy her. I'm going to destroy Nightmare, and I'm going to destroy her. He curled his fingers into the back of Nova's shirt, gathering the material into his fist. Nova, will you help me? Grimacing, Nova turned her head towards the front of the room. Through the doorway, she saw the edge of the coat closet, the dingy wood frame around the door jamb, the carpet worn nearly to the floorboards beneath. Yes, of course I will, she heard herself say as she stared into the empty eyes of Ace Arnicus' helmet, glinting at her from the shadows. I hope you enjoyed my talk on these books, and I inspired you to read them because they really are very well written and interesting books. And if you have not grown interest in these books, I hope you give fantasy fiction a try because there are so many different types of books and they have interest for everybody. Thank you.